Hello, denizens of the universe. So, I wanted to make a follow-up video to my initial thoughts on Jackie Lynn Thomas from Star vs. the Forces of Evil. And, yeah, just going to dive right in here. In regards to discussing Jackie as a character, I'm going to start out with kind of coming up with a general character sketch of what we know as viewers so far. Compared to Marco, he acts a little more high-strung and nervous around her, because he's so keen on impressing her, or he can't believe that he's dating the super awesome girl that he's had a crush on since he was 3 or 4. That's how old he looked in the flashback in Freeze Day, but I digress. Compared to Marco, Jackie comes across as really calm, level-headed, patient, and understanding with people. Every time Marco was tripping over his words or taking a little more time to drum up what he was thinking, she sat there and waited, just didn't really react or anything, just gave him time and room to collect his thoughts and find the best way to present them. Alongside that, in other scenes where Jackie's just hanging out with somebody, she's seen riding on a skateboard with Jana. She's part of the popular kids crowd, popular enough that Brittany, the snob girl, who really takes an interest in dividing kids into cliques or something like that. Of course, Jackie was on her party guest list. In that particular realm, Jackie comes across as somebody too cool for school. One of the popular kids that's popular because she's so nice, friendly. She has traits that most high school kids don't really have. She's confident and self-assured. Something that I could bet a lot of kids would really admire and look up to, not just Marco. And she's not restricted to just one clique. She seems to talk to everybody, gets along with them for the most part. The one other character that immediately comes to mind that sits in the similar realm is Kim, from Kim Possible. She was the straight A's popular cheerleader. Her best friend is Ron, who's arguably nerdy, kind of a self-conscious, awkward dork. Kim seemed to be on relatively good terms with everybody, Miss Perfect, etc. Though, in Kim's case, she has a few episodes that showcase that she can be nervous and self-conscious at times, like when she was preparing with her date with Josh Mankey, this really cute guy that she had a crush on for the longest time, and he just now asked her out, stuff like that. It'd be fantastic to see more of that side of Jackie appear on the show. As it stands, the closest viewers really have to seeing a fault in Jackie Lynn Thomas is that before the Truth or Dare box episode, it's kind of ambiguous as to whether or not she knows Marco has feelings for her. You could argue that she saw him starting to talk to her or approach her as, oh, this is somebody new that I'm on better terms with. We're starting to really develop a friendship here and click. Like, she's not necessarily the most observant in the romantic arena. She's dense as lead. That there's this kind of cute, awkward guy that keeps looking at her, trying to make a move, summon up the courage to say something, but she doesn't pick up on it. That is a very real thing. I'm dense as lead when it comes to picking up on romantic hints or attraction from people. In my freshman year of high school, there was somebody that I really hit it off with in my art class, and I interpret it as we're just friends, we get along pretty well, this is somebody I talk to every so often. It took somebody else stepping in and saying something for me to realize, hey, this guy likes me. So that is something that you could chalk up as a fault or kind of a chink in Jackie's otherwise quote-unquote flawless armor, something that humanizes her a little bit. In the comments section of my last video, one of the things that I would love to see in a future episode that would really push this a little bit further is if there was a dynamic shift with Marco and Jackie. Generally, in Bon Bon the Birthday Clown or any other circumstance where Marco and Jackie go out on a date or there's emphasis on their romance, Jackie takes the lead. She made the more assertive, aggressive moves in regards to pushing their romance, like holding hands, getting Marco to try something daring and adventurous, etc. The move where she looks at him with kind of shining bedroom eyes and puts her legs on his lap. She's been making all the moves. I'd love to see a situation where dynamic shift flipped, where Jackie was a bit nervous and self-conscious, or at least a bit more cautious than she normally is. It's something that Marco is a lot more familiar with, or knows how to navigate, and she has to depend or rely on him to sort of get through the situation and keep her grounds and bearing. There's gotta be at least one situation where Jackie is out of her element, and even though she's normally really calm and level-headed, she's not that way 100% of the time. There's bound to be some situation, like let's say she agrees to go with Marco to some kind of karate tournament, and she decides to participate in it herself, and she feels kind of nervous because she doesn't know all the moves and tradition and everything that surrounds this thing that Marco likes so much. She gets a bit off kilter because she wants to stay there. She wants to impress the guy, or she wants to make a good impression on him that she's willing to learn something that he knows. Like, she starts out open-minded and giving it a try, but after a couple of rounds where she keeps messing up or just can't get the moves quite right, she starts to feel a little, well, hesitant, not sure if she wants to continue or if she'll ever get it. Now, it is kind of a gamble saying that that would be what reveals a more vulnerable part of Jackie's character, but there's gotta be something, some kind of setup where there would be stronger emphasis on Marco taking the lead, or sort of, okay, just the general basis is, it'd be interesting to see the writing flip-flop those two in regards to character roles. Another one, something that would really push Jackie's character or give her more characterization and development than what we've seen so far, is another situation like with Just Friends, where she was bouncing off of just Star, Butterfly, or Jana entered the picture. There'd be so much more that could be revealed about her character. You could have another situation where Jackie isn't necessarily the calm one. When it comes to setting up a situation where Jackie would show more of her vulnerable side, or show another dimension of her personality, it'd have to be where she was a little out of her element, where she didn't feel quite as comfortable as everybody else. I could see this happening with dimension hopping. Now, an interdimensional field trip, yeah, she took to writing manta rays and exploring and running around pretty quickly. But what if it were going after sandwiches, or something that posed a stronger life or death risk? I could see Jackie being a little more cautious or hesitant to stick her hand in one of these giant sandwich monster creatures than Jana or Star. I just get kind of this vibe from her that there are limits to what she's willing to do. She has a pretty high tolerance threshold. There's a lot of stuff she's willing to try. There's a lot of things she's willing to do. She might even be an adrenaline junkie. But there might be some limit she's unwilling to pass. Or actually, if she's an adrenaline junkie, that'd open up an interesting can of worms too. Can you imagine her going on the sandwich monster quest with Star or Jana, and her being a bit more thrill crazy than Star having to keep someone in check? That'd be interesting. Seeing Jackie kind of go off the handle, just something. Anything that I could speculate or propose about Jackie's character at this point in time. What would push her to being more two-dimensional or three-dimensional? It's all pure speculation at this point. The overlying point or goal is that I would like to see Jackie become a character beyond just Marco's love interest or girlfriend, where she bounces off of Star more often, or Jana. We see what kind of relationship she has with Jana, whether they're just casual acquaintances, friends, or even best friends. I'd like to see a bit more, I'd like to get a little bit more clarification there, where exactly those two stand, just more details about Jackie herself. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pry open the can of worms that is Marco and Jackie versus Marco and Star. Now, I can't really go too far with this particular discussion, because in Jackie's defense, there's still a lot we haven't seen on screen. We're just barely scraping the tip of the iceberg with what kind of dynamic she has with Marco. I think I really jumped the gun by comparing her dynamic with Marco to Marco's dynamic with Star. Of course, Marco and Star have the stronger dynamic at this particular point in the series. They already had a big argument with each other. They have a fairly strong bond and friendship. It's been fleshed out. It's been developed to the point that you can see one or the other having a significant impact on the other's personality. Like, in Star Crush, Star is a bit more grounded and thinks things through a bit more. Marco is a bit more adventurous and takes more risks than he used to. There's been a significant impact on the part of both characters. It'd be hard for any potential love interest or potential new friend to compete with that particular dynamic. Even from a shipping perspective, it's easier to pull details about Star and Marco and say, this is why they click, this is why they like this is why they're going to be canon, blah, blah, that kind of thing. But it's not really fair to pull the compare and contrast card at this point in time, again, because Jackie doesn't have much character development. There's only so much viewers really know about her dynamic with Marco, and I regret putting that particular discussion or set of arguments out there. From their dynamic so far, the biggest thing that has me on edge is that Marco is still high-strung and nervous around Jackie. Though, in Star Crush, he seemed to be mellowing out a little bit. They'd reached the point where they could have casual conversations, or Marco's opening up a little bit more. He's willing to confide in Jackie about things. They were tossing pizza pockets at each other, etc. Though, the biggest thing that has me wondering where the writing for these two is going to go, why I'm leaning towards I don't think they're going to be together much longer, is that Marco and Jackie scenes were contrasted with Star and Oscar scenes. Star and Oscar was pretty blatantly obvious that they're a horrible match for each other. They do not click. I don't even think Star would be willing to entertain a friendship with Oscar. More like, I'll talk to you every now and then. She doesn't hate the guy, but she definitely doesn't have as distinct a romantic interest in him anymore. And then these scenes where these two are where Star's just kinda entertaining Oscar, they're contrasted with Marco and Jackie sort of talking casually out in the yard. And then the scene where Jackie rolls out, hey, trying to read my mind, dude. Where, when Marco says, you want to kiss me, and Jackie says, no, I just wanted pizza pockets. The biggest takeaway from that is Jackie takes it as you could interpret something like that. They don't quite understand each other's signals yet. They don't quite understand or know each other well enough yet that Marco could immediately know, yeah, Jackie wants food. But it's kind of hard not... The point I was trying to bring up when I originally brought up, it's hard not to imagine Star in that particular spot. It really does boil down to Marco and Star have a better developed dynamic. Though, with bringing up that Star and Oscar and Marco and Jackie are set up as this thematic parallel, it's kind of daunting to think there's a lot of emphasis on Marco and Jackie not having that click or connection. That there might be something resonating in the back of Marco's mind where he's thinking, do I really like Jackie as much as I thought? Just this little seed buried there. This little hint that they may have some kind of falling out or something might happen a bit later on. That's really what that scene came across as to me anyway. That's really the point I should have drove home. Now, later on, of course, you see Marco with kind of a dreamy expression on his face, and yeah, it really is just a seed or nugget here. Similar to what Blood Moon Ball was, for the idea there's a little bit of romantic tension between Marco and Star. It's being... Marco's potential falling out with Jackie is being set up in a similar kind of way. Though, it's not necessarily a precursor for, yes, they're going to break up, or no, it's not going to work out. Because even though Star's romantic feelings have been given a definitive, yes, she feels that way, there's still a bit of ambiguity as to whether or not Marco would reciprocate or if he's even interested. Gah. The biggest overall point I guess I wanted to bring up is Okay, yeah, I really went on a lot of different digressions here, but the biggest point I wanted to bring up with that is there's not really enough ground for a direct compare and contrast as to whether or not Star is a better fit for Marco, or Jackie is a better fit for Marco, or whatever else. There's not enough. I'd say that there really isn't enough foundation or grounding for what kind of relationship Marco and Jackie have, or what kind of dynamic they would have. It'd be a lot more fair to compare Marco and Jackie with Marco and Star if Jackie had more characterization, if we'd seen how much further their friendship or dynamic would get, what it would feel like if Marco attempted the reading Jackie's mind thing again, and they'd known each other for like 5-6 months, and there was still a little bit of a disconnect on his part. Like, he never could quite get that Jackie wanted pizza pockets, even though it's blatantly obvious that the gal loves food. Something like that. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt that there's still room for Marco and Jackie. There's still room to see that particular ship take off and go in some particular direction. There's no distinctive quote-unquote, this was a Titanic ship sinking moment, or whatever ridiculous crapple like that. And if I was presenting that particular idea, I didn't mean to. This is exactly why I wanted to make a follow-up video. Rambly or not, just to follow up on some of the stuff I said in the original video, and say that my thoughts have changed a bit on this. I've read through the comments section, I've rethought my original stances or standing on this, and these are the conclusions I have now. That's pretty much my goal or intention with making this particular video.